Did Socrates prove the immortality of the soul? Moments before his death, Socrates presented arguments suggesting that death is far from the end. Welcome to Untangled Philosophy. Today, we're discussing Socrates' arguments from Recollection and Affinity, as discussed in Plato's dialogues Phaedo and Meno. The argument from Recollection is most vividly illustrated in Plato's Meno. As is typical of Plato's dialogues, Socrates attempts to elicit knowledge of a particular concept by questioning an interlocutor. In this case, Socrates' companion is Meno, and their conversation turns to knowledge. Meno's paradox suggests that searching for knowledge is impossible. Why? Well, you can't seek what you already know because you already know it, and you can't seek what you don't know because you wouldn't recognize it even if you found it. Socrates responds that the soul is immortal and learning is recollection. The soul knows all truths before birth. We just need to unlock them. To demonstrate, Socrates questions an uneducated slave about geometry. Through careful guidance, the slave discovers geometric truths without formal teaching. Socrates interprets this as evidence that the slave's knowledge was already present in the soul. Part of this process involves coaching the slave towards exercising his false beliefs about geometry. By challenging these views, the slave comes to understand that what he thought he knew was in fact not knowledge. This frees up space for recollection. And this parallels Socrates' method of questioning, known as the method of Alencus, where he challenges assumptions to clear a path for knowledge. It has even been suggested that Socrates' choice to question a slave is intentionally drawing an analogy to his discussion with Meno. He is effectively saying that Meno is akin to an uneducated slave, which comes in response to Meno calling Socrates an electric ray. I think I know the perfect image for you, in appearance and all other respects. You're just like one of those flat sea fish torpedoes. I mean, the torpedo numbs anyone who comes near enough to touch it, and I think you've done the same kind of thing to me. My mind and mouth are literally torpid, and I have no answer for you. But the point is that if the slave had knowledge all along, he must have acquired that knowledge somehow. Socrates claims that his soul acquired these truths before the slave was born. His questioning also reveals that knowledge, which we now understand as recollection, is not something that just happens to you. It is a process. The point is that the search, the process of learning, is in fact nothing but recollection. In the Phaedo, Socrates emphasizes that recollection is possible because the soul, before birth, contemplated the forms, universal truths beyond the physical world. The argument from Affinity hinges on the distinction between composite and non-composite things. Composite things like animals, plants, and rocks are made up of parts. They're subject to change, decay, and disintegration. The body, being physical, belongs to this category. Non-composite things like the forms are unchanging and indivisible. They're intelligible only through intellect, whereas composite things are perceptible through the senses. Now remember, for the ancient Greek philosophers, the soul, at its most basic, is just a life-giving force, and as such it must belong to that of the non-composite things. After all, we can't see the soul, it is only intelligible through reason. And what is one of the things common to the forms that we haven't mentioned yet? Well, they're eternal. Therefore, Socrates concludes, if we're right that souls are non-composite entities belonging to the same category as forms, then they must also be eternal. The body will break down when it dies, but the soul will remain uniform and live on. So, what do you think? Did Socrates succeed in proving the immortality of the soul, or do his arguments go wrong somewhere? Let me know what you think. For now, thank you for watching. See you next time.